When we talk about developing an agent,
Yeah.
let's just say that, because I feel like one of the things, I talked to Anthony about this, one of the things you guys do really well is get people up to speed making money pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is awesome. Some organizations, not always the case. Some agents, a lot of them are worried about replacing income and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that y'all do, maybe daily, weekly, or you do, to help agents develop along the way? What is up? Welcome back to the CA Power Player Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Askins, and today we have, one of my favorite people, man. Before I bring him in, okay, one of the Rose boys, him and Anthony are hanging out. I just interviewed Anthony, right, and I'm about to interview Dan. Here's what I talked about the family and how amazing they are and how much they love helping agents, and they have more of a boutique style agency. It's still really good size, by the way, but when I say that, I mean like they are like holding the agent's hand figuratively, not literally, to like help them win and succeed. They care about people a bunch. No one's a number. They don't have 4,000 people to worry about. Like they like seeing people win, and they've grew a really good big company by doing it differently. I respect the way they do it. And when I think about this individual I'm about to interview, he's working with agents, running sales meetings every day. He's developing, he's holding people accountable. He's a mentor to those individuals. And I guarantee you will have several really good nuggets to take away from today's podcast. So please welcome back from Diversified, one of the Rose boys and brothers.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Dan Rose.
Great to see you again, buddy. Thank you so much for having me back.
Man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you being here.
Always, man. I love doing this stuff with you and traveling the country and all that speaking engagements and just meeting your following, man. So thank you.
Amen, dude. Amen.
Right
I think one thing that's cool to mention is how important it is for agents to succeed. They're gonna have to get outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, we're still getting outside of our comfort zone.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Every
time.
single day.
I hate public speaking. I said that the last time I was here with you, man. This is totally outside of my comfort zone. Just having the cameras on and lights on and ready to go. I'll do that. Like
Dylan in the room. It's like, bro.
No, that's this is just not my. But at the end of the day, I know what as the Rose Boys, as Diversified, as a part of the Integrity family, as me solo, I know what we have to offer an agent who's struggling, an agent who's excelling but still wants to get to that next level, an agent who just, in the process of trying to develop a team and doesn't really know how to recruit, just making a bunch of promises that aren't able to stick. I love that part of the business. So I'm glad we're here to talk a little bit today.
Let's go, man.
Yeah.
When we talk about developing an agent, let's just say that, because I feel like one of the things, I talked to Anthony about this, one of the things you guys do really well is get people up to speed making money pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is awesome. Some organizations, not always the case. Some agents, a lot of them are worried about replacing income and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that y'all do, maybe daily, weekly, or you do, to help agents develop along the way?
Right on. So first things first, technology matters. When it comes to a new agent, an old agent, technology matters, right? So first things, we're getting them on our CRM, getting them on our platform. There's a million different things. There's AI structure that's set up in place that when you're making phone calls, we know exactly where you're going wrong because it's literally AI is translating your conversation to a script, and we're seeing that script is horrendous. So I think tech matters. That's one thing that always matters for agents.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so that's got the CRM and the phone system
all
and all
sitting
that
inside of it, right? So the idea that an agent who's still learning how to sell, doesn't really understand the sales process from A to Z, is getting on the phone and saying all the wrong things. Well, our AI is able to recognize it, coach the agent up on it, get going, and turn their script around. So I think tech matters. Wow. That's my first initial reaction.
That's huge. And I think and to add to that, I think there's a bunch of having an all-in-one like tech platform for an agent to plug into. It shouldn't be, but it is unique, and it's cool that you guys have that. Click
go and just literally go. Right? Take calls in, out, whatever it may be.
Is that what it is? You just click go?
It's literally click go.
That's
and
cool.
As soon as it is, it's either making you available for inbound calls or setting you up to go outbound. So I would say first things first, tech matters. When you're dealing with a new agent, an experienced agent, the platform you're sitting on is important.
Yep. But before we continue, you talked about inbound and outbound. I think, and Anthony was talking about how y'all lost you dropped 600 inbound calls the other day in one day.
Yeah.
Right. Freaking wild, by the way. I'm like,
I'm gonna lose sleep tonight over that. But
bro,
yeah.
that was
There's a lot of
insane.
calls.
As a marketer, I'm over here calculating
what
the amount of money that is, right?
Right on.
Agents can do inbound or outbound.
Yeah. So one of our biggest strengths that we had when we got back into MA, some of you guys have seen our other podcasts, you know our history a little bit, but we were a life shop for a long time. And we kind of, after all the changes 10, 15 years ago, we kind of changed our direction with Medicare Advantage. And about 7.5 years ago, we had a really good friend in the business that became a partner in some ways, who kind of said, listen, so-and-so insurance agency was just sold to a giant insurance agency. They have these things called auto-assigned Part D leads. What that means is they're automatically members of a Part D program with this insurance carrier, and we're going to share them with you. We're going to give you a script, and you guys can flip them into a Medicare Advantage plan. So I would say, tech matters, but also leads matter, right? And for us, the way that the leads mattered are through this free platform that they were just sharing us leads, and we were booking appointments for agents. Agents were going out into the field at that time, and just meeting with them one-on-one. Our in-house team was doing that, and then from there, that's when COVID hit, the world changed, and everything was over the phone. So from there, we were ready. We were ahead of the curve there because of the free lead program.
Yep.
Tech matters, leads matter.
Before we continue, what was the how many appointments when you were booking in-person appointments?
Yeah.
How many appointments were y'all booking?
Honestly, whatever an agent can take. If an agent was everybody has different types of models in this business, right? Some people want to be a school teacher and then get into the insurance business, but it just hasn't worked. So they need to work only 3 appointments a day for 4 of the days because of whatever it may be. But if we had agents that were taking 40 to 50 to 60 through AAP on the hour, every hour, and we were booking their days up. We're still doing that, but we're doing it more phone appointments. We're booking phone appointments.
Is effective?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Huh.
And then while that happens on the outbound, you could take those the same. You don't have to do the appointment, just handle it right then and there. As the outbound, you also have the inbound where, we have the platform where the 600 that I'm losing sleep over are just gone.
They're literally just calling in, and either you don't have enough agents to handle them, or you don't have enough agents active
at that
handle
time.
them.
Yeah.
At that time. Yeah. Which is part of it.
Right on.
I mean, but that's the cool thing about they have their business. They get to choose now in AEP. Gosh dang, if there's a bunch of freaking calls, you should work and take them. But you get to choose how that works to a degree. You guys aren't going to keep feeding an agent that's working a couple hours a week and
Yeah, I mean, look, there's everyone's got those, right? You got an agent who gets on at 9 a.m., does his 2 sales by 11:30, and calling it a day versus encouraging him to stay on and get from 2 to 6.
Does that happen?
Oh, for sure.
What percentage of the time does that the case?
Not often, but it happens, and it always seems to happen with a really good agent where you're you're going to be happy with your $1,000 a week for the year. Well, we can get you to be $3,000 a week if we just stayed on the platform.
How do you coach that? You do. Yeah, we call you the ultimate mentor. How do you develop and coach that?
I think that's a relationship, right? I learned at a young age from my father, from my brothers, that this is a relationship business. And sitting down just like this, developing a relationship with the not only the client, but obviously the agent that you're sitting in front of, coaching them up from the beginning, establishing the groundwork of, if you're coming to work with us, this is what we expect. This drop off at 12, even though you have 2, we still have the same investment if you work for 3 hours or if we work for 8 hours. So it really is a relationship that starts it all.
That's cool, and it's you're able to have a relationship too because you're not managing 8,000 agents,
right?
You're able to build. And when you're able to actually build a relationship,
we don't want that kind of agency, honestly. Though there's if that's the person listening to this and they're in a giant place, good for them. If it works for them, right? To each his own in that regard.
Correct.
But we're never going to be that big 4,000 or 5,000 person agency, quite frankly, because of the number one priority, the relationship. We are relationship driven individuals, and the cool part about it is when there's 4 of us, some people have a better relationship with I than they do with Anthony. Some people have a better relationship with Anthony than they do with Mike, and vice versa.
Obviously, most people like you better than
we're all unique in our own way.
You are, and competitive and
yeah,
fun.
for sure.
You know what? Anthony said the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
A few minutes ago, he's like, "We don't want to be that.
Yeah,
that's not who we are.
No, not at all.
You guys,
we take pride in not being that.
You figured out who you are.
Yeah, no doubt.
I love that.
Yeah, we take pride in not being that. At the end of the day, hate to say it, but someone's probably listening to this because they've probably been screwed by one of those big guys because they didn't have the personal relationship.
When you don't have it, it's harder for an agent to listen.
Yeah.
When they do get coaching or constructive criticism, and they're like, freaking dude, get off your butt, man. Like, you got an opportunity here. They're like, what'd they say to me? I don't even know who that person is.
Yeah.
Where you have a relationship and you can be like,
we're given the permission to coach. Right, that's what it comes down to. We're given the permission to take somebody.
That's a big difference with coaching,
for sure.
Unsolicited advice
gets jammed down your throat. Nobody wants to hear that.
It gets. I forget. Somebody said the other day there was like unsolicited advice is feels like somebody's just like attacking you or talking down. I forget. There was a phrase, a quote. It was really good.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm going to interrupt the podcast to tell you about our CABOOM leads that are literally blowing up. If you would love to never get disconnected numbers or wrong numbers ever again, then you will love our leads at CABOOM Leads. All of our lead types, we text the prospect a 6-digit security code. They go back in the funnel and put that in to verify that it is a real, accurate cell phone number, and they've responded to a text message. We do this for all of our lead types. If you haven't tried CABOOM Leads, you can use coupon code podcast to get 10% off of your very first order at CABOOMleads.com. Back to the show.
Right on.
Yeah. Okay. So tech, leads.
Those two things matter, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I would say the third one, which we talked about, the relationship, I think someone's got to know and understand your commitment to that. Right? As an agent, you need to know that the person that is teaching you is committed to you from thick and thin. How do we do that? How do we show that? First thing is the investment. We talk about the tech into the investment, the tech into the leads. Forget that for a sec. Let's talk about the people investment.
Mm-hmm.
Within our organization, if you're a manager and you're not spending enough time with your people, there's probably, success leaves clues. Unfortunately, so does failure. There's probably some clues there that you could sit there and get in the car with the person, drive with them, figure out what's going on. Tap into their calls, do a Zoom call while they're calling in. Just listen to them. Pull their calls after the fact. I mean, learning from yourself sometimes is enough because you don't know what you don't know. But if you have the manager that's going to sit there and hold your hand, like you said earlier, that's what we do. That's our pride and joy, is taking someone from, drove up in a hoopty and drove off in a Lexus. It's one of those things that they, just in that 6-month time, they changed their life.
How cool of a feeling is that when you have someone roll up and they're like,
awesome.
Have nothing, and then 6 months later it's like a different human being. They're dressing differently, they're talking differently, they're rolling up differently.
It's a matter,
not in an arrogant way. Their life is just improving.
It's in every way. It's awesome. I'm thinking about someone who maybe lives at home with their mom and dad, 22, 25 years old, can't have their own, and all of a sudden now 6 months, less than a year later, they're moving in with a significant other and buying their own place or whatever it may be. Seeing like people kind of grow up in the industry, not just by being 22, 25, but growing up in by the opportunity they have and taking advantage of most of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is there unless you get a name,
I have like 5
names.
people in mind that I'm thinking about right now that literally in the past year and a half have had a big major move from one side of the country to the other, or from a family house to their own place, just by that same thing. That it's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
No. That's exactly where I was going. Like, what type of individual did they have to become? What did they do? Were they coachable? Did they work? What did that person have to do for that person listening that's like, I want that life?
I would say there's always more, want more, right? Like we're human beings. Well, what do you want to be? In order for you to know what you have to be, you have to start sometimes by what you don't want to be. So what you do want to be, write that down, understand it, and go after it with all you got. Obviously, someone who's listening to this is one of those beings, right? They're doing the things they're supposed to do in order to get to that point. Right? If they're not listening to this, they're probably someone that's mediocre at that point. So I would say it's definitely
Do you coach that? And have those conversations about like, so my wife does like this once a quarter. She meets with the team and does like these personal, professional, like financial goals. When you talk about coaching and relationships, is identifying what they want to accomplish, how much money they want to make. Is that a part of the equation?
In every way, shape, or form. You got to understand your people. You have to know what makes them tick, right? If you don't know, what makes them get out of bed in the morning, how can you rightfully lead them to the right place to drink from, right? The right fountain, the right lake, whatever it may be. You have to know what makes them tick. What's their why? What's their strength? What's their leverage on their why? Sometimes they forget it themselves. What I always like to do, and it's just a silly one, but I like to have them print out a picture of themselves. I'm sorry, their why, and just put it right on their keyboard right in front of them while they're dialing. It's just reminder constantly of this is why I'm doing this. It's 4:00 in the afternoon. I've got cursed at 15 times. I got hung up on 30 times. I don't want to freaking do this anymore. Well, you have a big reason right there, because you know those kids are relying on you, your wife's relying on you, your husband's relying, whatever it may be, right in front of you. So just right in front of you, just small little things that make a difference.
Yep, it's so easy too, and we've all been there where when you've had a rough day, it's just, and it's 4 o'clock, it's 5 o'clock, whatever. It's so easy to just be like, I'm going home. I've had enough today. Yeah, you know,
it's. Yeah, I mean, the coaching aspect I can't talk enough on, right? So like I was thinking about this one earlier. You remember Ken Shamrock, you know, the Ultimate Fighting Champion?
Yes.
He was a UFC guy and Dana White for a long time. Went to the WWF for a little while. Yeah. Total like nut job, jacked up, roid rage dude, right?
Yes.
He had something I read in a book at one point. I think it was a culture code. I can't remember who wrote it, but anyway, I read in the book and it's talking about how he had a plus, a minus, and an equal for every single thing he did in training. A plus, a minus, an equal. What did he have? For argument's sake, if he's sparring in the ring, he had someone who was way better than him. Maybe it was a weight class up, maybe it was a weight class down. It didn't matter. He had someone that was his plus, no matter where he went, no matter what he did. If it was going for a jog, he had someone that ran 10 seconds faster than him. His plus was always somebody better at whatever the task at hand was.
That's cool.
And then he had a negative, right? A plus, a minus. His negative was someone that he felt he had something to offer to. So he was a mentor to somebody in every way, shape, or form. So he took a better and he took the lower, and he did something with these guys.
He's
constantly
being pulled to, but he's also
giving.
You know, that's good.
Yeah, giving and getting, both sides, plus and minus. For him, it was simple math, plus, minus, and then the third one is equal. He had someone that was his equal along the way, riding the same flag. You know, maybe it was the same weight class, maybe it was a different, same task. Then obviously, when you're in UFC, part of it's marketing, right? So maybe it was his social media that was at hand, right? But the simple math of it was the plus, minus, and equal. And that's something that we teach our salespeople constantly. You know, have someone that you're grateful for, that you're accepting their training, you're open to their training, you're open to their advice, and then someone who is, you know, you have something to offer this world, right? Like you have someone to offer a new agent, a friend, a colleague, whatever it may be. Just, you know, teaching them here, you know. That's cool. And then you're equal, right? Someone that you're running alongside with, running the same race with.
Yep, I love that. What if they're have someone who kind of the plus minus equal made me kind of think about something that's like not depositing into their life and is constantly withdrawing from them, and is like just not benefiting their confidence and helping them, and they're going home to that, or they're listening to that, or they're being told that. You're coaching them up, but then all weekend they're being told something totally different. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, we learn SW. Some will, some won't. So what? Sometimes you have to just move on to the next one. But some people, you just, you know, I think it's John Maxwell quote. He says, if you need to, you know, find out where to direct somebody, show them your heart. And I think it's kind of making yourself vulnerable to that person as opposed to them showing them vulnerability to you. That's right. Good. So open your own heart up, show them who you are, show them your heart, and then kind of allow themselves to be vulnerable to you. You know, by you being vulnerable first, right?
That's
helping you cross the you know, the bridge to where you're both trying to go together.
Correct. That'll get people to open up more too. It's interesting you say that. I feel like I've had to grow in that area the last couple of years to where it's made me a better speaker when I am willing to be vulnerable and transparent, not negative, but like vulnerable and transparent about the things that we're going through.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through stuff.
For sure.
And that is how you connect to people really well.
No doubt. The vulnerability matters to your client, to your agent, to even your mentor. The vulnerability matters. But, you know, we always like to say, and I think I even talked about this in my last podcast, so forgive me.
That's okay.
But everybody spells, how do you spell care? Do you remember this one? You know what I'm talking about?
C-A-R-E.
All right. Yeah, so at Diversified, we spell it T-I-M-E. Right, that old cliche. We don't know how much you know until you know how much you care. That whole thing. We don't care what you know. For us, it's show them that you care by spending TIME. Spend some time and really develop that relationship. The vulnerability matters, right? Vulnerability matters. Leads matter. Tech matters, right?
It's good. Showing
them that you care matters, and then I would say scripts matter, right? And one of the things that we do, we spend a lot of time listening to people. A lot of time. We have literally a full-time, more than one full-time employee who sits logged in to other people's calls, just coaching them all day, every day.
Wow. Like whispering?
Yep. Whispering, shooting messages. It could be a text. It could be on our
Do they ever barge? Platform.
Yeah, they will at times, you know, if they're doing things. It's not our favorite thing to do because it's sometimes you do learn more by actually failing than you do, you know, fail forward.
Versus somebody just doing it for you.
Yeah, saving you and salvaging you.
It can be a confidence killer if it's like, okay, that call was going terrible. I had to save you. And they're like, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They have the ability to. It happens from time to time, but not often. When it does, it's usually a frustrating thing, like you said.
Yeah. So when we're saying that, like their dialing platform and others, but not all of them, have features where you can whisper, where you can like, I can talk to Dan like, hey, buddy, ask this. But the client can't hear you.
Client can't hear.
So funny. I was at a boot camp one time and there was somebody whispering to agents.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't tell the agent. They forgot to tell the agent about the whisper mode. And they were a new agent and they had no idea. And they were like, they started talking to the client like, do you hear that? Is somebody else on this call? I think someone's talking to us. Betty, do you hear that? What's going on? It's hilarious.
That's great.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Right?
Well, IAO, right? Improvise, adapt, overcome. At that moment, like that's like someone who's vulnerable enough to you, they're not going to get pissed off at you. They're going to be improvising in the moment, adapting to the circumstance. You said probably on the call earlier on, you know, calls being monitored and recorded. Is that okay with you? You got the permission. You closed them on the ability to have a second or third or fifth person listen into the conversation. So take it up on the offer, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then barge is where you can, which they don't do it much, but you can just like
just totally break it.
I'm coming in, right? It's like I'm sort of like peeking through the door and like listening. You're like opening and walking in the room.
Exactly.
You know?
Very clearly breaking in. And
that's also what's happening with that though too is there's development, there's coaching, but there's also accountability.
Yeah.
And I know we all need someone to hold us accountable. We all need that.
Yeah.
A lot of us are like, I want to diet or I want to work out or I want to get better at this or I want to read or I want to whatever.
Yeah.
And think about the amount of times we said we were going to do something and didn't. Right? And so we all need someone to hold us accountable. What does that look like as far as?
Yeah. So I would say, you know, we touched on it earlier and then we went down a different path. So forgive me. I do that all the time.
Definitely me too, for sure. You get both of us together. It's like,
man.
Who knows?
Exactly. I'm always 100 miles in every different direction. So forgive me. But yeah, no, early in the year, we sit down with every one of our salespeople on the employee side and say, what's important to you this year? What do you want to make? How much do you need to make? How many apps do you want? Give me something material that you plan to purchase this year. Could be headphones, could be a car, could be getting out of your mom and dad's basement and into your own apartment. Something material that we're working towards. And then a few other things along the way. You know, what do you want to do this year? Where do you want to travel? Where do you want to travel to? Some of the things that make it real that we're literally throughout the course of the year. It's not really accountability to me or the other, you know, team members. It's accountability to yourself and what you told yourself you wanted to do this year.
Amen.
Yeah.
What is some of the most common answers when they're like wanting to like do something? Is it travel?
It's travel. I would say travel and buying something. It could be buying something frivolous because of the day-to-day cost of it. They can't, but I mean, one was AirPods last year.
Wow.
Like this one specific agent gives so much to her son, does so much for her son that she just was like, you know what? When I put my kid to sleep, I want to just have my own little world and put some AirPods in and listen to some music or a podcast or whatever. And that was something as simple as that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you guys are such good people too that there's probably times where you're like, hey, you've been doing a good job. Here's some AirPods.
Yeah, exactly. Right on.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
At the end of the day, it comes back to where we started. You have to know what makes someone tick. And they're telling you, and you're sitting there asking them directly, like, what's important? Tell them what makes them tick.
This is such a good episode. Like, it not only helps agents, but it also helps agencies who are trying to build something like what y'all have. And we're speaking about development. We're speaking about coaching. It's about accountability, but we are speaking a lot about leadership as well.
I don't know if you remember The Last Dance for MJ.
Oh, gosh,
yeah,
dude.
awesome, right?
Phenomenal.
Do you remember when they covered Dennis Rodman?
Yes.
In it? All right. So Chuck Daly, the Pistons coach at the time, if you're not into it, was Detroit Pistons head coach was Chuck Daly, and he said you can't put a saddle on a Mustang. About Dennis Rodman, because Don was a wild man. And although there's a lot of humor in that, if you remember Dennis Rodman and all the crazy stuff.
Went off to Vegas and they couldn't find him for days.
Disappeared for weeks.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have the ability in this business, based on asking the permission, filling out the form, getting answers, listening to their calls. We have the ability to actually saddle the Mustang and then watch it run off to the sunset. Right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. But you know what? He learned what made Dennis Rodman tick.
Exactly.
And some coaches were okay with it, and some of them weren't.
Some of them weren't. You know? At the end of the day, he wasn't trying to throw a saddle on him. With that, we have the ability to.
Yes.
We have the
Yes.
ability to.
That's a good visual. That's such a good show. It's a good series. Oh my gosh,
go.
I love
So
it. I need to go
good,
back
yeah.
and watch it again.
Yeah, right on.
Dude, phenomenal podcast.
Yeah, man. Great being with you.
I appreciate all y'all do. If they want to learn more, get connected,
Yeah,
speak
right on.
to you or Mike. Or
Shoot me an email, dan@thediv.com, dan@thediv.com, and let's talk more, man. We have opportunities on the inside for our W-2 team, opportunities 1099. If you're in this business and you want to know more, let's have a conversation and go from there.
It's cool. Appreciate you
man.
being back.
Awesome.
Amazing job.
Always a great time with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, appreciate you guys hanging with us. Let us know what's the favorite part, man. It's such a valuable episode. Love the Rose Boys and what they're doing at Diversified. What was your favorite part? Let us know in comments below. Also, he talked about leads matter at some point too. If you haven't tried Kaboom, you can use coupon code YouTube at kaboomleads.com to get 10% off your very first order. Thanks for hanging, and we'll see you on the next episode. Adios.